I got to play you this clip from Bret Hart. He was on our show a while back, and I said to him on the air, I said, you know, we're going to play the clip for Shawn Michaels. So I asked him what he thought of Shawn Michaels right now. Take a look, and then I want your comment.
I'd say he was a two-faced, lying chicken shit. And I'm probably being nice to him.
And now?
No, I don't think that's a snake that never changes stripes. Shawn, he was the kind of guy that would make friends with you or bury the hatchet with you 10 minutes later, and 10 minutes later he'd be out there stabbing you in the back again. You couldn't make peace with him.
Now, clearly, Bret does not know you now. You haven't had contact with Bret for a long time, right?
Correct.
So he's talking about how you were. Is that a fair comment? Talking about how you were when he knew you, when you wrestled together.
No, I don't even think that's fair to even how I was then. It would be a little tough to say I was the kind of guy that, I mean, we obviously never buried the hatchet with one another, and each time we tried, one of us. You know, and the thing is, I think the difference between Bret and I is that I'm willing to take responsibility for my part of it and have asked for, you know, I've said that I was sorry and have asked for forgiveness and have forgiven my part of it. I've taken responsibility for my part of it. But that's always a two-way street, and I can't control. Bret certainly has a right to his opinion, but I can't, you know, I can't make up Bret Hart's mind for him. And as I say, he is entitled to his opinion. But no, I mean, it's, I don't even think that's a fair comment even back then. I might have been a little difficult, but I would say that's even a little snug for describing me back then.
I would like to at least attempt to put this to rest. 1997 Survivor Series, the most famous wrestling match, one of the most in history. It was the departure of Bret Hart. You talked about this a little bit on Confidential, a WWE show, and wrestling fans across this country have put it to me to put it to you and ask, what happened on that night in Montreal? How much did you know about Vince McMahon's plan?
I knew everything. I knew everything. I was told by Vince that this is what they had planned, and I was told not to say anything. You know, it was his decision not to say anything, and even after the fact, to deny it, so that's what I did. Years later, they came down to do the show, and the Confidential show, and I mentioned to the girl, I said, you know, a lot has changed for me in the last several months at the time that they did the interview. And I said, you know, I said, I don't do an interview anywhere without being asked about what happened in Montreal. I said, I can't, you know, I need to tell the truth. And this girl hadn't been with the company that long. So she said, well, okay, I don't know what the situation is. So I made a call to Vince to try to tell him that I was going to, you know, wanted to tell the truth. Couldn't get a hold of him, so I said, well, I'm going to tell the truth, and you guys can choose to play it or not. And I said on the show that I knew, and I did, and there's, I mean, that's it. I knew that it was going to happen.
Let me ask you this. The person that you are now and the way your values have changed and the way your life has changed, if you were presented with that same scenario exactly, Bret Hart in Montreal, great champion, and Vince wanting to change things underneath his nose, would you have gone along with it?
You know, I don't know. But, you know, what I think about is this. I would probably still have done it. Very simple. And people say, oh, you know, the Bible says this, and that is you submit to authority. Your authority above you, that is your boss. You do your job if he asks you to do it. And that's what I did then. My boss asked me to do a job, and I went out there and did it. It's unfortunate that you know, I don't know if you know the Teflon Don.
Of course. And
Sammy the Bull Gravano. The Don always made the, you know, the rules, but it was Sammy Gravano who had to go out and pull the trigger. And I was the guy that got to go out and pull the trigger. And you know, I'm not proud of it, but at the same time, I don't let it define my career, and I don't think anybody does. It was one incident in my career of over 18 years, and it happened. But there's still one guy, the same guy, that had 100% control over that to make that outcome different, and he chose not to, and that's Bret Hart. He simply could have done what all of us are supposed to do, and that's do what our boss tells us to do.
You would rather have turned in the title than lose it in the ring, right?
No, that's one of those things that you've never heard Vince McMahon say that.
Nope.
You'll hear the guys. Again, like I know you're referring to Bret saying, well, Shawn didn't want to do this. The only person that has ever said that is Bret Hart. You get Vince McMahon on here and you say, did you ever tell Shawn to do a job for Bret Hart? He asked, do I want to work with him? And I said, no. I said, the guy has not been supportive of me since I've been champion.
Great matches. The Hour with Bret. Is that number one?
If it's not number one, it's 1.5 for sure, yeah.
I just can't help but think of you and Bret and think that you guys missed out on something unbelievably special.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we capitalized on, I don't know if it gets much better than the Hour, but no, I loved wrestling him. I really did. I could, you could go out there and have a wrestling match with him. It was a sheer joy to be.
You used to watch him backstage and say, that guy is unbelievable, didn't you?
I used to say that I think I would like to get out there with him. And heck, he used to come back and say, I see you being the guys. Eventually, somebody that's going to take my place.
I feel a reunion show happening right here on Off the Record. It's the feel-good story of all time.
I would do it, but until brother gets forgiveness in his heart, there's nothing I can do.
So you're saying you'd come on the show with Bret?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the challenge for Bret right now. Let's see if he'll do that. Let me throw out some names.
I'll sit there and say, Bret, forgive me, and let's move on.
I'm wearing a helmet for that one.
And you know what? For what it's worth, unforgiveness doesn't make me suffer. It only makes him. He doesn't. He still looks angry, and that isn't helpful.